Good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, June 12th, 2025. It's approximately 7:40 a.m. and this is a meeting of the Concord Building Committee, Concord Middle School Building Committee. You can tell I'm barely awake. Let me call roll. Alexa Anderson?
She's no longer on.
Okay.
Part of
Heather
your
Bell?
challenge is the school committee hasn't filled that slot yet.
Yeah. Okay. Heather's not with us today. Justin? Cameron?
I'm not sure. He's busy, so.
Okay. Bob Conry?
Bob will probably hop on in a minute.
Okay. Gail Dowd?
I'm here,
Gail. Yeah, okay. I was like, I thought I saw Gail. Peter Fashalis?
I haven't seen him.
Nope. Don Guariello, I'm present. Andrew, not with us. He's traveling today. Russ Hughes? Tim Holt?
Here.
Hi, Tim. Lori Hunter?
Good morning.
Mark Howell?
Here.
Carrie LaFleur?
Good morning, Dawn.
Oh, good morning. Pat Nelson?
Here.
Chris Popoff? He might have sent a note. He couldn't make it last night or today. He sent a long note that I vaguely remember him saying he couldn't participate. Charlie Parker?
Here.
Matt Root?
Morning.
Good morning. Steve Stashewski. No Steve today. Okay, light crew, but here we are. So we'll call this meeting to order. The first item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 15th, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to look, read, review? Any comments?
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
Thank you. And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's do a roll call vote. Don Guariello, yes. Tim Holt?
Yes.
Lori Hunter?
Yes.
Mark Howell?
Yes.
Pat Nelson?
Yes.
Charlie Parker?
Yes.
Matt Root?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, moving on. We've got correspondence and communication. Heather sent a note yesterday apologizing for being on vacation, which you should never do. Don't ever apologize for that. Where is her note? She said not a lot of communication has come in, but she wanted to share that the communication out specifically about the ribbon cutting, and also there was one other thing.
The sustainability
report that was so nicely crafted have both gone out in communications. So if you haven't seen the report, please look for that and give it a read. There's a lot of great information. Charlie and Matt and anyone else who contributed to that did an amazing job. So Charlie was even talking about it last night with some folks. So great job on that. And I look forward to hearing how the building is really performing once we have that data. So that'll be interesting.
Well, while you're at it, we should do a follow-up discussion as to getting access to that data. I think
it's usually,
yeah, somehow we'd like to have that officially recognized that we're going to work with that.
Maybe Jen can speak to the post-occupancy
Yeah.
data. Usually it's a year or something after the building's open. There's usually a time frame in which they go back and sort of document.
Yeah, typically it's a year, but I mean, as far as doing the evaluation to confirm EUI and everything, I think that is a service that we can provide. We've done that on other projects. We can talk more about that with Lori, but we'll get some post-occupancy information from the commissioning efforts and everything. So I can lay out what we own, if we want to do some additional documentation of that.
Yeah, sounds like that's not part of your base contract.
Right.
Some of that.
Right.
Yep. So
yeah, I think Martine did communicate some of that. So we've got some of that.
Yep.
Dr. Hunter, I guess I was saving you an email at this busy time, but I think at some point once things quiet down, I don't know if we need to connect with Russ or who on your team we should speak to about getting access to that data.
So we're still in a lot of Russ is retiring at the end of June.
Okay.
So we're transitioning leadership. And two, are like a lot of that's still very a work in progress. Like we just reset temperatures to be comfortable when the warm weather hit. So I don't know, maybe that's why they wait usually a year as we get a lot of systems stable. And it just my caveats. Of course you can see the data. I'm just giving you caveats of like 2 weeks ago, it was 78 degrees in most of the classroom wing, and we had to lower the temperature to turn the AC on so people are more comfortable. So I don't know if the data is going to show some swings and just getting calibrated on where we need to be.
Yeah, no, I think all of that is normal, Lori,
Yeah.
where we want to, help facilitate and identify any issues as that commissioning process moves forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else on correspondence communication? Okay, then let's move into the OPM update. We will look to Ian to give us some info.
Thank you. Bear with me. I'm kind of losing my voice this morning, but I will power through here. So, pretty typical update today, going through the financial update, a few change orders to look at, talk about construction progress. And I think the last thing we wanted to cover is just diving into some of the observations we've made on the concrete sidewalks, and just get you up to speed on that. So as a committee, so looking at the budget summary here, we've got construction expenditures to date. We're at 81.3 million, 1.8 for change orders. So we got 83.1 for expenditures to date. We've got a balance of around 4.5 million for construction. We're forecasting the 430,000 in open PCOs. The bulk of that, just to give you an update, is we're trying to finalize the abatement PCO with CTA. That did come in under what we were originally talking about. It's in the tune of 360. I think it's 367,000 for that particular change order. So that's a good portion of what you're looking at there for forecasting. But it did come in under what we were talking about. Just less volume of material ended up going out. No changes on the A&E front or admin front. We're continuing to make payments to vendors on FF&E and technology. So we've got a small balance there. 170,000 for FF&E, 140,000 for technology, but a good portion of that is uncommitted costs. So that's not going to be completely realized. Contingency numbers, we've got 2.1 available in construction contingency. We still have the construction bid savings of 2.2, 357,000 in owner's contingency, so 4.7 for project contingency, plus the additional bid contingency of 2 million. So you got 6.7 million remaining in contingency. And that should be it for the budget summary. Any questions? So cash flow, just continue to project expenditures through essentially the remainder of the year, 2025. A few things projecting out into 26, but we're big picture, we're anticipating not using the full budget at this point. So but we're forecasting everything through 516,000 just to show it on paper. Got the graph marching towards completion of phase 2 here in September. Got the contingency usage chart. So showing what we've used, around 45%. We're forecasting the 430. Again, that includes the abatement costs. So we've got 46% remaining for hard cost contingencies. Soft cost, we spent 59%. We've got 41% left in soft cost contingency. Leading up into the final months here. TRC log. This captures the change orders that we're going to review today. We've got 4 change orders we're going to review with you next. So those are the commitments and the contingency drawdowns, and then these are just the invoices since we last met a couple weeks ago. So we've since processed the CTA April requisition. We're in the process of finalizing the May requisition as well. And then the majority of these are progress payments to FF&E and technology vendors. We've got FINA Engineering who does testing. We've got Lero Hill progress payment on here. So 2.5 million paid since we last spoke, and the vast majority of that's the CTA requisitions. So any questions?
I have one, Ian.
Yeah.
The demo of the building and the abatement, did that affect the schedule at all, or are they still on track to meet the schedule for phase 2?
Yeah, so they, despite the additional abatement that they had to do, they were actually meeting milestones for demo and abatement. So they had their baseline schedule. They had May 16th as the date for completion of demo. So they were able to accomplish that for phase 2 progress.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
All right, we'll jump into change orders. Jen, you want to jump in here?
Yep. Change order 51, just a couple. One was just a soffit. This work had been completed a while ago, just wrapping up the PCO and the paperwork on this. But we had through coordination, we had some plumbing piping going through the elevator machine room, so we needed to add a rated soffit just per code. Minor costs. And then PCO 135 was just some general labor, just CTA's laborers who are on site, just doing some additional cleanup required just to help the school. They were there, so we utilized their services. So that was $9,221. So the total change order 51 is $11,239.84. Any questions? All right, change order 52. This was just the premium time Saturday work in January. That was $18,047.50. I don't see any questions here. So 53. This is some back charges that we're back charging CTA for some third-party testing services. For some, when we have failed testing, several of these are for early foundation work, but then there was also some window retesting that we needed to do. So if there's a failed test and there's retesting charges, those get back charged to the contractor. So this one will be in a credit for $9,942. Any questions? Okay, change order 54. Just a couple septic pH issues. So again, as we're temporarily pumping the septic tank and having to dispose that at a separate facility, Again, we're just monitoring those pH levels, so that's the $3,280. So hopefully that should be wrapping up soon as we're tying into the new system. Next PCO is a water meter locked bypass. So this was a requirement from the city, or from the town, sorry, water department. So there was some work that needed to happen to get a bypass at the water meter. It was a little bit more complicated, just given the constraints in that particular room. So that's why it's a little bit higher of a dollar value here, but $21,612. And then again, PCO 135.1 was just an additional slip for that additional labor costs for cleanup to CTA's laborers. That's $1,536. So the total of this change order is $26,429.26. I see Charlie, you have your hand up.
Yes, what does it mean to have a failed window test?
It's not unusual, in all honesty, Charlie. It's so in this particular case, we tested several of the windows and we were having some water leakage at the operable window, like where the crank handle is. So the window contractor went back and did some additional sealing, tightened up the crank, and then we retested it and it passed. So this is the reason why we do the window testing, actually. So it was great that, we're able to capture that. They went through and did corrective work at all of the windows at that condition, just to make sure you don't have any issues in the future at any of the windows.
I'll add that I haven't had a project recently that hasn't had a failed
Right.
window test. It's totally
same.
normal, and then that's
Yeah.
why you do it, to Jen's point. So it's
Well, I'm just impressed that issues were discovered and fixed. So that's why I wanted to know. I think it's wonderful that you guys did that.
Yep. The process, it works. So, yep. All right, moving on to the last change order 55. This was just some additional modifications to 3 staff toilet room lock sets, just moving into the building. They wanted some different functionalities, some additional locking capabilities at those 3 staff toilet rooms. So that was $2,470.86. Any questions? That's all we have for change orders this month.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
So jumping into construction update, construction progress. So phase 1, new building. So they've made a little bit of progress on punch lists, kind of waiting for the school year to wrap up and have more access to the spaces to really dive into punch list completion this summer. The commissioning deficiency log is still in progress as well. They're chipping away at that. So we've got punch list work that we want to wrap up this summer. Auditorium, obviously we're in the space last night, appreciating it, and carpeting is being planned for late June. Again, trying to wait for school to finish up to schedule that, and then they'll do some final commissioning of the AV systems after the.
Can I just jump in on the auditorium?
Yeah,
I was there last night where we had chorus and orchestra play. I was there Monday night for 2 band concerts. The acoustics are great. The atmosphere is great. The lighting's great. So good job. Like even the projector last night, the screen. So I've in the last few days witnessed many different types of acoustics and visual presentations in that space, and it's perfect. So and I would only say that maybe it could have been a little bigger because it still was standing room at the 4th grade band, because they were saving some spots for students. So our performing arts are quite robust in this town. So just want to say how great it was to be in that space and how valued I think it is by the community already.
Yeah, I'll just add that at town meeting, I kept hearing people say, well, are we gonna have town meeting at the middle school sometime? Can we do town meeting at the middle school? So it's a jewel in town.
I remember talking about the ability or inability to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's great.
I'll just quickly add. I mean, that was my first time walking into the auditorium, and it is really gorgeous with those, I don't know, sculpted walls on the side. I don't know what you call those. It's pretty amazing. And I did feel, to your point about the screen going up, Dawn, I felt like that was like a test as Dr. Hunter was talking. Like, could the screen go up quietly? And it was great. It was like,
Yeah,
they were showing
I saw
everybody all
Justin
the-
walk back to do it, and I was like, let's see how this goes. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
saw it Monday night. I was like, oh, that must be the projection screen. And then when I, walked in yesterday and it was down, I was like, yep, of course. And so, yeah,
And it went up
I definitely
silently.
took a few
Yeah.
moments to like look around and see what was there. So it's great.
It was.
And I would add that it's an extremely comfortable, very, very comfortable setting. I mean, the seats, and it's much, much better than the high school venue, the high school auditorium, far better, in my opinion. So we've
Right.
learned.
Yep.
Good. So phase two highlights here. We've got all the demolition debris is offsite at this point. So CC Construction remobilized on 5/27. They're the site work contractor. So it's very much a site work project at this point. They recommenced the force main installation this week, and they've actually basically wrapped it up. We're going to be doing some inspections and testing and getting that system full go here in the near future. So we'll be stopping the pumping program and switching over to the permanent septic system shortly. The irrigation scope was issued to CTA formally this week, so working on procuring that. We want to try and slip that scope in this summer and get that done ahead of some of the planting, or basically the seed. So and then as far as field completion, we're trying to wrap up this fall. So they'll be doing the seeding in August, September timeframe. I think there's a few minor plantings they might be able to get in the ground this spring, but they're running out of time now. So to expand on the question a little more about schedule, Dawn. So phase two, just to be transparent, we did get a schedule claim from CTA on the demo and abatement front. So we're trying to sort through that. They did meet their milestones, so we need to talk to them more. We want to set up a meeting probably next week to talk through this claim, talk through how they intend to complete the remaining work for phase two. So we need to sort through that a little more. Their numbers are kind of jumped around and what they were asking for additional time. So we need some more time to vet that and talk about when they're actually going to complete phase two. So just throwing that out there, something that we're sorting through for phase two right now. So site photos. So this is from the top of the loam pile here. Lots of heavy equipment on site, moving dirt around, doing cut and fill in various areas. We're at a point in the project as well where our site trailers are kind of in the way. So we're talking about removing those and where we're going to live temporarily. So another topic that we're sorting through right now. is just removal of the trailers so that we can develop 100% of the phase 2 areas. And then just some other snaps here of site work in progress. So that's that. And then the last thing that we wanted to bring up and talk about, and I'll hand it over to Lori here, but just wanted to show some photos of what we're seeing on site with the sidewalk. If you've been on site, I don't know if you've noticed, but just want to, bring to your attention some of the issues that we're seeing with scaling of sidewalk. In front of the school is the worst part of it. So these are some photos of right in front of the school. We've got a lot of surface scaling where the top 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch is delaminating and scaling off. So that's something that we're trying to work through solutions on. And then you've got various areas kind of around the sidewalks, around the parking areas and different portions of the site that we're also seeing some of these issues. So wanted to flag it for the committee's review, and I'll hand it over to Lori to kind of talk about next steps and strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. I mean, the headline is we don't have that all figured out yet. So a lot of this purpose this morning is to put it on your radar. It seems that there's been a perfect set of conditions to some extent that have set us up for that. You'll remember January and February, especially February, with just massive ice storms coming through multiple times. And we had no choice at that point as we got ready to occupy the building. It was just unsafe. So we knew and were told to not salt the sidewalks. We did not salt the sidewalks, but we did salt the parking lot and the drive. We absolutely had to. So there's been some spillage over from the driveway and the parking lot to at least the edging of the sidewalk. So we're still in the process of evaluating all of this. There's some perimeter of maybe 6 to 10 inches along certain portions of the driveway that seem to have some pocking from some salt. And I think as I've sat through multiple discussions now, and I'm repeating what we're learning from the professionals, that it just baked into these banks of snow and ice and just sort of sat there. Brine was used as a word the other day that, just sort of sat there. So we have that as an issue. The part in front of the building has more investigation to be done because it's much more extensive than that. So we're still in discussions. We're sitting with CTA, Hill and SMMA have both dug in really deep. The landscape architects, Hill's team, really reviewing what happened when and how we might have gotten here. So there's going to be more to come. There is going to be some cost here, obviously. We're probably going to strategize some phasing of repair or replace. The front of the building seems the most urgent, and we don't want to miss the summer window to address that. So we're going to try to get a plan made fairly quickly. That might mean we need an interim meeting to bring a proposal to all of you for consideration. A quick Zoom in a week or so would be my hope, so we can get going now that summer's here. And then we'll bring you other things as we move through it. It does appear, unfortunately, that there's been bits of damage, much to a lesser extent than this, even with the alternative ways we tried to address the sheets of ice without using salt, with snow blowers or picks or other things. We had some landscapers come in, like we were stuck in a rock and a hard place. Safety had to be the priority. The sand wasn't cutting it. So it's unfortunate and somewhat frustrating because part of me is like, if it was going to fall apart, I could have just salted it. And if I'd known I was going to end up replacing it anyway, but that's not where we are. So more to come. I think today is to just let you know this is something we're working pretty significantly on at all levels because we need to get a plan made. But things happen. I know CTA and Hill are seeing this on other sites. Seems like the conditions this later part of the winter just was a really challenging environment for fresh concrete and all the things that were going on at the same time. But some more to come, but we're probably going to need to grab you in the next little while to make a plan on at least that front part, because you can see that's significantly an issue.
Laurie, I have some questions. I've been thinking about this and I'm sure you guys have gone over all this a million times, but it just seems to me that we are in New England, winter conditions are what winter conditions are in New England. And if these kinds of problems are being seen on other projects because of this particularly rough January and February, I guess I just need to understand more why the contractor who put down the concrete or the people who made the concrete or doesn't hold more responsibility for it, especially where it's not looking like it's coming from spillage from the driveway, but it's all the way across the sidewalk. And it may be just that I'm a little bit peaked
No,
about.
I mean, we're having that discussion, Pat, for sure. Whether there's any deficiency in some of those sidewalk areas that aren't just because of the conditions. So that's what a lot of this team has been working on and trying to give guidance on. We're still in discussion with CTA about that. So that we're hoping to get a sense of, and if there's agreement or disagreement on, I think soon, hopefully there's a meeting. Well, I was hoping a meeting was going to be scheduled by now. We're still working on it. So that's absolutely on the table, Pat, is whether there's anything that could have gone differently to avoid this, especially in the worst spots of it. But we don't have that definitively set yet. I think we start to have an opinion and CTA's in disagreement to some extent. So we're going to have to work through that.
Well, you didn't think that was all going to be over at this point, did you?
No, I mean, you all know we've been doing this the whole project. So this is the new topic. But we do need to get to a place where even if we're still not sure how we're splitting the bill, we're going to get the work done is one of my goals this week. So
yeah.
We have a contract, obviously, and the contract specifies who is responsible for damages, and I'm sure they also have a responsibility to advise us how to care for the work that they put down. So these things should be, reasonably clear, I would think. And I think Pat's
interpreting the contract, Charlie,
good.
Yeah, interpreting the contract can be a discussion. We're all looking at our own backdrop as to what the professionals see in the events and what happened, and that's still all data we're bringing to the table. So yes and no. I think trying to match the contract to where we are is what we're actually working on right now.
I have a question. Does the mitigation of this involve replacing the entire slabs of concrete?
It could likely. I think that's where we're leaning, especially in those.
And it's just a second part of that. Is there any structural components to the front of the building that rely on that concrete as a base?
No, I'm watching
just
Jen and Ian. No,
it's a 5-inch sidewalk slab that's independent of the building.
Okay, there's no structural interaction with that would be affected.
No.
Okay.
From what I heard, Tim, like the complicated parts are that, the flagpoles there, the lights are in, some of that work.
I know there's some
precarious
members that come down in the front of the building, and I just want to make sure that didn't affect other things. Yeah.
There's pavers where the base of the, it's pavers out from the building and then the sidewalk is perpendicular. There is a bike rack, I think, and the flagpole. There's a couple things that do interrupt it.
So Ian, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, like Lori said, we're still trying to sort through it. We're at a point where we want CTA to take some responsibility for a portion of of this, that we think is a deficiency, and then the balance of that, wherever we land for replacement or repair would be the cost that the owner would pick up at that point. So that's what we're trying to sort through is responsibility and scope, and kind of how much we need to remove and replace. So
Setting aside the exact split, what's sort of the upper bound of the cost of sort of doing this, let's call it the right way in terms of fix?
Still working
So
through that too. Yeah, we're still working through that. It could be very significant, but I think too, we're trying to determine the scope of what we're replacing and where. So until we know that, it's relatively hard to get that to you. I mean, if we were to replace every piece of concrete that has damage in it of any kind, we're in the 6-figure numbers. So we're trying to figure out whether that's absolutely the only approach in every single spot. Are there spots that we need to definitely do, but could take other alternatives? Are there spots that the damage isn't going to be an issue? There isn't going to be water creating long-term things. So we're assessing, I feel like we're assessing like 1 foot at a time out there. I don't know if all the professionals will agree with me. We've walked that so many times at this point, trying to sort it out. So we're now focused on the front of the building, which I think makes the most sense. And we'll do this in a more phased approach.
I would just say, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing on this, is that I would urge us to do whatever is going to mitigate this problem in the long run. I don't think we're going to have gentler winters going forward, and I'd rather see us spend the money now than pass it down to another committee.
Another school committee
In
and
the future.
superintendent. Yeah, I hear you,
Yeah,
Pat.
in the future, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. We want to get it right. So
I have
Jen,
one other little question here. I mean, are we clear that the issue was caused by the salt? I mean, in other words, were the sidewalks that weren't part of this issue, in other words, not part of the salting problem, the one that, for example, the one that runs sort of downhill in front of the building toward the, I guess what is that, the west end? Is that sidewalk perfectly clear and there are no issues?
So that sidewalk there has some divots in it that look like it might be from a snow blower or something. So salt doesn't seem to be an issue there, but as we study that, you can see there's like a little repetitive pattern. So it seems like a mix of a number of things. We are sure that salt was part of the perimeter of the driveway and the roadway where we had to salt. So it's because it's complicated, I guess is the short word.
Well, it's like a forensic kind of situation.
Yes, no, it absolutely has been a forensic study going on.
Yeah,
Chad.
absolutely. No,
Yep.
totally.
Well put, Charlie, and that's where I want to dig in, but I'll leave that to you all and the professionals. Just seems like it shouldn't happen in New England that salt would screw up new concrete, but
Well, you
what do I
think
know?
you'd be smart enough to avoid that if we know so much about salt. So I don't mean we, but the collective we, including the contractors. But yeah, it's a shame.
The other
John.
question I'm asking is to make sure it's not going to happen again. Like, I don't want
Yes.
to be having the same discussion next spring because we fixed it and then it's still, young concrete. And so we're trying to tackle it from every angle.
yeah, so more to come on this topic, and again, we might need to set up a special meeting just to talk through it once we have a plan.
So keep an eye on your email. That might need to happen even like the middle of next week.
On the plus side, I gotta say that the construction quality of that building is just phenomenal. The tiling, all the joinery, it's just a terrific job. I couldn't have been more impressed with, the quality of the work. So, for what it's worth.
I'll
Agreed.
agree. I will add that, and I don't know if this is on the punch list, but the base of the structure at the entryway
Mhm.
needs a real solid cleaning. Every time I'm there, it's kind of a first impression. It's like
Yeah.
having a dead plant at your front door. It's kind of an
We're-
eyesore.
Yeah.
And every
We
time
have-
I'm there, I'm
yeah,
like,
we
I
have
shake
a-
my head. It would have been nice to have that cleaned up for yesterday, but it is what it is. So just adding that. And my daughter tells me there's a huge chunk of gypsum missing from the far stair at the at the
Oh, yeah, we
classroom
know, we know.
stair.
You had your
Yeah,
daughter
I was
on
like,
patrol.
I'm sure they're aware of it. So these are the things kids notice, right? But just
Those are all
sharing
on the punch list on.
the 10% that's not complete. I understand. It's hard to get them to come back and finish those things, but it is important. So
You have a little
Hopeful.
insider over there checking stuff out.
I know. Well, I was giving a ride to a softball game, and she and another sixth grader were talking about this, and I was like, what are you talking about? Share. And my daughter confirmed yesterday. She's like, I used that stair, and it looks like a piece of the drywall's missing. I was like,
Yeah, the
okay.
superintendent might have taken a picture and sent it to.
Oh, look at you.
Jenny
Yeah. Well,
Miller,
the
just
kids
like
notice
that.
these things. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
funny that they're watching too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should give
Well,
them
no.
little painter's tape to
Yeah.
punch.
Find the thing.
Yeah. Anyway. Is that all you have, Ian? Are we at the end
That's-
of your report?
That's it.
Oh, awesome.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get back to my agenda. So we're finished with the OPM update. Any new business from anyone? Nothing. All right. Public comment. I just want to say, I think the recording started after we were commenting on the ribbon cutting and how great it was, and just want to reiterate what a lovely evening it was. Justin, Dr. Hunter put together a nice program, and the students were great. And I think it's called Wilson's group is Concord for Great Schools or something, alongside the PTG did the books. I was reminded these are for the volunteers on the committee and just for the time that was put in. So if anyone that's not a volunteer would like a copy, feel free to reach out and we'll get some additional ones printed for others. But they just wanted to say thanks to the volunteers who have been on the committee for all these years, and thankful for our time. So we appreciate that. Any other public comment? Do we have any public members? We may not today.
Oh, and I
Okay.
see that Steve has joined us.
Yeah.
so-
Hey, Steve. Missed
Hey,
you.
sorry.
but
late.
yeah, that's fine. You rolled in the back door and sat in the in the back of the room, the back of the virtual room. I didn't even see you. Good to have you, Steve. Okay. If no public comment, next steps, next meeting. We talked about possibly needing one to talk sidewalks and maybe talk a remedy. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I don't know if our next July one's been
It's
determined.
July 17th is the regularly
17th?
scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Anything else before we adjourn? If not,
It's really great to hear you all have firsthand experience now in the building. That's just great. I'm so glad we've been able to make that happen.
I love it. Every
Yeah.
time I go there, I'm just appreciative of all the work it took. And I said that to the professionals that I connected with yesterday, just saying, I know what it takes to get here. And so I'm very much appreciative of all the hard work. So it takes an army, and it literally has been an army of people who have worked hard. So thank you, including Gail. Gail wasn't specifically mentioned last night, and she said, I don't want to be, and I'm that way too. But I know how much work you're putting into this, everyone. So thank you. And
And
still,
I-
we
and I
still have
see-
a big field to finish. Go ahead, Pat.
I see Vin's on Vinny's on the call, and
Yeah.
just want to thank him for all his herding the ducks and watching the fledglings
Yeah.
for us on this project.
Checking
Thank
the
you.
tickets on the abatement. We know that's you, Vin. We know that's you. I saw you in the back of the auditorium yesterday. It was good to see you from afar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So with that, we shall adjourn.